What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have some glory news for you. You guys know I'm a big fan of this organization, but it feels like through the pandemic I haven't been bringing you the best news. First it was that Glory was shutting down, they were in some sort of financial crisis, and then they were back. And then at some point I was going, they're losing all their good fighters. What is happening? And today I want to talk with you about another bit of glory news that just came out, which to me is very disappointing, not only in what this means for the company going forward, but also for the fighters and for everybody out there who's a fan of anti-doping. So let's roll the intro and dive into this episode. So first, guys, let's let it be said, I love Glory. They were the guys that I got my big start with. I got 2 glory belts behind me there. In the heyday of K1, when I was looking to be with that massive Japanese organization, and then they fell through, Glory came and picked kickboxing out of the grave. And I will always be grateful to them for giving me and so many people around the world opportunities to shine on a global stage. But there's still a few things here and there where I'm like, okay, I don't love what they're doing. And this new piece of news that just came out is basically telling us that Glory will no longer, or at least for the foreseeable future, be doing events in the Netherlands. Now, why does this matter? Well, number one, since the pandemic started, Glory has stopped doing a lot of shows abroad. We haven't seen them make a return to Asia. We have not seen them return to North America. And their shows through Europe are not all scattered around, but they've been very much focused on the Netherlands. When I look back at the past events, it looks like most of them, or if not all of them, throughout the past 2 years has been in the Netherlands. Now that is a massive kickboxing hub, and it's always been very important for kickboxing to have a home base there. There was one point for a few years where Glory was not going to the Netherlands, and it was believed simply because there were some ties in the past with kickboxing organizations and crime, and the government wasn't having it, and they were not allowing events to be held there. That was my understanding, although don't quote me on that. But now Glory has returned back to Netherlands. It's been massive. Rico Verhoeven, Badr Hari, they have put on some spectacular, massive events there, and it looked like Glory was on the upswing. But then we get this news that just came out that said Glory will no longer be doing any events there because of anti-doping restrictions that are now coming into place. One of the head guys at Glory, Scott Rudman, I believe, said basically they're just not happy with these restrictions being in place and they will find venues somewhere else. Now, why is this a concern? Well, number one, to me, we look and go, okay, people are not worried about restrictions if the fighters are clean. For example, when I fought down in Los Angeles, I believe, on a Glory event, I was given a urine test that I had to do. Did I care? Absolutely not. Go ahead. Urine sample, no big deal. I'm not going to test positive. Wasn't worried in the slightest. The ironic part about that is I was on a massive event. I can't remember which Glory number it was, but it was an 8-man tournament, and then they had Rico Verhoeven fighting, and then I was in a 4-man tournament, plus Miracle Crocop was on the card. There were so many big fighters, but when we look at people who may have been utilizing doping to perform better, I'm not saying any of these names in particular are people who are actually doing it, but we look at guys like Rico Verhoeven, Miracle Crocop, Joe Schilling, Simon Marcus. We have all these guys who are so much bigger, so much more muscular than me. Guys who might look like they could actually be taking something. Although again, I'm not saying any of them are, but I'm just saying in terms of actually looking at them and looking at me, I don't look like I'm on anything. I know I don't look like I'm on anything. And 2 fighters were tested on that card, and I was one of them. And I just went, that is super ironic. In fact, somebody else, the guy who fought Miracle Crocop, I think his name is Jermel Miller. He was a boxer. He was actually scheduled to fight Anthony Joshua, and the fight got pulled because he tested positive for something. And he wasn't one of the guys that they picked in this Los Angeles event, this Glory Los Angeles event, to be tested. They picked the 143-pound fighter. So I am a big fan of anti-doping. I feel very strongly that anybody who gets caught using substances that are going to increase the performance that have been banned, I don't feel that suspensions are enough. I feel like you should be cut from the sport for life. That's just my opinion. That's a decision that somebody makes. They try to legally take advantage of the other fighter, have better performance, better fight camp, be the stronger fighter, not through simply just training harder, but taking pills or injections which allow them to train harder and get stronger. It just seems like a real low-level move to me, and I've never been a big fan of it. So obviously, when I heard this news that Glory was moving out of the Netherlands, I went, well, obviously, the government is going to implement restrictions on anti-doping. I mean, everybody's doing it. It should be done. And for Glory to move out does not look good. In fact, the head of the martial arts authority over in the Netherlands was quoted saying, if Glory decides to avoid Netherlands because of this doping rule, that is their choice. And mainly it says something about Glory. It is also high time that the martial arts sector introduce an anti-doping policy. And yes, I 100% agree. And then the Glory staff go on to say that this is no doubt bad news for Dutch kickboxing fans, as they will have to travel abroad to attend live events. Yes, that is super sad for the fans, and even more so for the fighters, because there are many fighters who have been waiting for a chance to get back in the ring, and because Glory has not been doing enough events, fighters are on the sidelines waiting for their opportunity. And I want to talk to you guys about me talking to Glory. Now, I have signed with Karate Combat, but I was talking to multiple promotions, one of which was Glory, because I went, you know what, I have a couple belts there. It would make sense for me to return back and try and win a third belt. But when I talked to Glory, they said, Gabriel, we'd love to have you back, but the reality is we're not able to give our fighters enough bouts per year at the moment, and we can't really be taking on new fighters. Although I did find that a little ironic because they had just signed Alistair Overeem, but I get it. He's a big name, much, much bigger than myself. But speaking of Alistair, there's no way he's going to get to fight in the Netherlands. Of course, anti-doping is going to be an issue. Maybe he's cut it out now, but in the past, 100%. You don't go from, you know, a 200-pound, not skinny guy, but a 200-pound, relatively normal-sized guy to exploding out like him without something helping you through that process. So the whole thing to me is a little bit disappointing, mostly because I'm going, okay, there's these fighters out there who want to compete, and also as a fan of Glory myself, I'm going, everybody wants to watch these fights. We want to see this promotion progress and move forward and continue to build the sport of kickboxing, which unfortunately is just struggling again right now. So that is really all the news I have for you guys. Disappointing, but keep in mind, there are good things happening in the combat sports world as well. UFC is putting on their first event in England coming up since the pandemic started. That is good news, starting to travel around again. ONE FC is bringing you kickboxing fights, I believe, coming up very soon. There is another couple high-level kickboxing fights at that 154-pound division. And of course, Karate Combat is building there, the new promotion I am with, and you'll be able to check me out competing with them, hopefully 2 or 3 times this year. So we do have lots of good news aside from the slightly disappointing news from Glory and their competition within the Netherlands. So guys, that's all from me today. If you enjoyed this news, please give the video a like. If you haven't already, join the channel and get subscribed for lots of content, not just news related, but also tutorials, cardio tips, breakdowns of fights, fights where I commentate, all sorts of news. As always, guys, train hard, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.